And good morning, everybody. Now, before I get into saying good morning to everybody else, first I acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Whadjuk Noongar peoples. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present. Excuse me, and to Aboriginal elders and peoples from other communities who may be taking part in this live stream today. So, Dodgy, now you can join. Who is here? Lots of people. Thank Mitchell. Thanks for reminding me of the chat thing. I don't have it open yet, and I'm opening Discord because I can't remember what the URL was. I know the domain involved your name, and that is all I can remember. So here I am, looking through chats. I'm going to find it. I've got to get this open before. Ooh, is that the password? Okay, scrolling back. There we go. Yes, it is at your domain. Now, login. Will this work? I may have muted my computer too. Let's find out. Have I muted? Oh, here we go. This is a suboptimal start.
System connected.
Yes.
Activating the super house. Squirrel.
It's probably going to be a suboptimal entire stream, but that's the way it goes today. So good morning to Chip, aka Outside the Box. David is here. Mitchell, Stephen, Sion, Moo, David House is here. Dodgy, Sharky, Luminator, Johnny.
Thompson said hello.
I look 15 years old. Older. Luminator.
Said, is it muted?
Is it muted? I don't think so. I can see audio levels. I can see my mic is on.
Maker said go pies.
Go pies. Oh, Keith is here. Yeah, okay, so we're ready to start. Amanda, Imi is here. DIY in the ghetto. Mike is here. Oh, Mike says callbacks on the VK1 WIA broadcast is just finishing. Oh, I'm glad they finished in time for the stream. Andrew Gordon. And who else? Henrik is here, of course. Johnny, Chris. Hot mic, yes. Oh, okay, I'll turn it down a bit. Here we go. Down, down, down. Is that a bit better? Less clipping and things now? Okay. Dodgy says definitely better without the beard. That's because you don't want competition, do you? Only awesome people have beards. Too low, says Dodgy. Too low. I can see it hitting up into the red when I... Cassio is here when I speak up a little bit. Dodgy says I'm just lazy. I think that's kind of how mine started as well, because it began during one of the lockdowns. I think it might have been the first lockdown. And I just didn't shave for like a week. And then I thought, I can't be bothered. And then it got to 2 weeks and it actually started to turn into like a proper beard. And by 3 weeks it was a real beard, and that was it. And then... yeah, I've shaved it off and grown it back a couple of times since then. All right. Speakers are on 100%. Okay. All right. Now, what are we doing? Okay, so first of all, I am experiencing a low energy cycle at the moment. So it was another one of those days where I wasn't even sure if I was going to stream, because I just didn't feel like I didn't feel up to it, and doing this takes commitment. Hang on, that's the wrong word. To engage properly and do this with a reasonable energy level, I really have to push hard, because to come through as sounding like you're at a normal energy level, through the screen, you have to be like 50% above that. Me in real life right now, I'm acting like a maniac and I'm speaking in a very animated way and much more excited than I do in real life. But coming through the screen, it all gets flattened out. So yeah, sometimes I don't feel like I've got the spare horsepower to amp it up and perform.
Said, look in Discord.
Yep. Thanks, Henrik. So Henrik is trying to get me to show you something. I might get to that. I don't know. I will see how much energy I've got. So there are a couple of questions, and also there is something that I'm going to show in a minute that Amanda has put together. There's a document that she's created for an idea for something to talk about. DIY gives me an energy drink. Yes, an energy drink. I've got a bottle of water here, lots of dihydrogen monoxide. And there is so much energy in the bonds between those atoms. If we could release the energy that was in this, we could destroy the world. Well, not quite. Not quite. What are we doing? What are we doing? I'm getting notifications popping up on my computer. I can hear it going bing and I don't even know where it's coming from. David says, that stuff will rust your gut out in no time. Yeah, I know. All of the oxygen in it make my gut go brown. Now, we could at least clean up Melbourne. What's that in relation to, Stephen? There must have been something I missed in the chat. Okay. Now, so there are a couple of things. I might... okay, I am going to... Yeah, Keith H said, think of the vitamin D after the stream. That's right. I am going to be out and doing some things. I'm going to get outside, stand in the sun for about 5 minutes. That's my weekly quota. And then I will probably start feeling a little bit better about life. Okay. Stephen, yeah. 100% of people that have ever had water will die. That is correct. That is a case where correlation does not equal causation. All right, I'm opening Fusion because I don't really have one major single topic to cover today. There are little things. And what I'm going to do is start with a quick view of what I did on the OpenKO project after the last stream. And where is it? Is the chatbot muted? I wonder if it is, because I've had a few messages come through and I haven't had it actually say anything since I enabled it. How do I unmute the chatbot? System notifications, messages, playback.
Henrik Ostrov said, looking...
There we go. Okay.
Henrik Ostrov.
David Crisp said, am I muted?
Yeah, okay. I think I might... Playback? I don't know. Yes. Hopefully it is now working. We shall see.
David Crisp said, am I muted?
If I click the play button, it plays it. But then I don't know if it's going to actually play live. Where is the 40 water I sent you a while ago? Has it been drunk yet? Oh, if you're referring to those little bottles that you typically find in a... Yeah, we can hear this say... right. If it's... Yeah, the little bottles that are typically found in hotel bar fridges, I haven't drunk those. So there were 2 bottles in that. I'm not really a drinker, so they have been sitting there. I had the refresher page worst case. Okay. Let's see. Mitchell says, say this is not a test, this is an
Mitchell
emergency.
said this is not a test.
Yes,
this is
it
an
worked.
Emergency grin.
Yeah, okay, cool. This is a test of the emergency broadcast system. See what I mean? You are seeing me barely functional today. Now, what am I looking for? I'm going to go into Superhouse Projects and open KO, and then I'm going to bring it up on screen in just a moment. Which means we want this. Alright, schematic. I don't think there were changes to the schematic since, because we had all the routing done on the last stream. The change has been, I basically did some silk screen and stuff like that, so, hang on, why is that opening in, oh yeah, it's just being weird. Alright, so what did I do? I think let's do a rip up. I basically just improved some labels and things because
Dodgy Brothers Engineering says nothing wrong with barely functional John. Just be yourself.
Thanks, Dodgy. I'm doing my best. So if we go to, what did I do? T-place and focus mode, single layer mode. So I basically just fiddled around with labels. I did things like put labels on the quick connector and CAN termination, put labels on the header going out to the RGB LED strip, so that's for a, what do I want to do with that? I'm just thinking about changing, no, I'll leave that, that's okay. I had some bad experiences during the week with RGB LEDs, and it's made me totally rethink how I handle level shifting and running 5 volt LEDs off 3.3 volts. So but that's okay. I'm going to leave that one as it is. What else did I do? Just added a label on there, more labeling here, added labels here, fixed the snoot label. Oh, we did that on the stream. So it's just, did I put, oh, I know what I want to do. One thing that I really like to do on boards is put the, oh, I did. Nice. Let's flip the view. So I've put connections on here for the CAN bus connector, and this is the thing. This is what I like to do, is put actual I/O pin assignments directly on the PCB. Hang on, I've got a cough. There we go. Okay. I just saw a comment from Sion about the LEDs. I will follow that up in just a second. So, right. One thing. So, my old business partner at Freetronics, Mark, once said to me, so he's got a lot of experience in electronics design and manufacturing, way more than me. He's worked on many interesting and, high profile projects and things. And one thing that he said to me fairly early on when we were doing board design for Freetronics right at the start is, now this is not an absolute hard and fast rule and you can't stick to it 100%, but the principle is, if a customer has to open a data sheet to work out connections to your board, then you've failed. And I try to follow that principle. So the idea is, if someone has your circuit board in their hands on their workbench and they want to plug stuff into it, or they want to modify the code or whatever, if they have to look up the design files to find out what the pinout is or what the connections are on the board, you have failed. So what you failed at is adequately labeling the board and putting in place documentation on here. So I don't always do it, but as a general principle, I try to do two things. One is list all of the I/O assignments on the board itself, so that if you're working on a sketch or something, you don't have to go and look this up. And the other is labeling the actual connections like this, so that you're never looking at a connector and wondering which one of those pins is ground and which is whatever. It's always right there in front of you. So yeah, so I try to add labels like that. In the case of the CAN bus, you can see there's no pinout label here, but the pinout label is on the bottom of the board. And here on the LED header, it's got the pinout on the top of the board. It's got the pinout here on the serial header, etc. So that is so that's where it's up to. And I haven't actually ordered this. Now I've got a few boards that I want to order, and the thing is that shipping is a killer. Coming from JLC, if you just order, because I only need a few of these. I don't think anyone else is ever going to buy one. I'm just doing this mostly for my own purposes. So if I order this from JLC, it'll cost more in shipping than the board is worth. So I need to compile a number of boards. I also have boards for the Funtronics project. I need to order several boards for that. So I'm going to, yeah. Stephen W says $30 shipping. Yeah, so $30 shipping on a board that'll cost $5 for 5. And it just makes it more worthwhile. Like if I'm going to order, if they're low volume boards like this, I never just order this on its own. Like if I only want a 5-pack of this board, it's just not worth ordering it. But if I'm ordering a few boards, or if I'm doing an order for a customer, then I can throw this in it and it doesn't change the shipping cost. So that's good. JLC offer cheap shipping now. It takes about 2 weeks for manufacturing and delivery, Simon says. That's interesting. I wasn't even aware of that. That's cool. All right, I'm going to check that out. But the thing is that I place orders for boards probably... Actually, I could find out. Like, I can give you a gut feel that I place a PCB order maybe once a week or maybe every 2 weeks. But my sense of time is, tenuous at best. So, hang on, sign in. I am on a different screen just now, signing into JLC.
Chris said, give me a few more weeks and some motivation, and I can add several different boards to get made.
Okay, so David's got some to be made as well. So I'm just having a quick look at, I'm not going to show you my JLC order screen because it's got a whole lot of customer boards in it. So my last order with JLC was on the 12th. So that's 12 days ago. It's been a little while. So the 12th, the time before that was 30th of the 8th, so that was 12 days before that. And then 10th, so that was 20 days. And then the 9th, so that was the day before, so that was 2 consecutive days. And then the 20th of the 7th. Okay, so I put in an order about every 3 weeks on average. That's less frequent than I thought. It goes through cycles, depends on what's going on. But anyway, David says, quick, order something so they don't forget you. Yeah. Yeah, Austin says, I've been doing that more and more in the code I write as well, having one bank of defines for the various elements. Yeah, absolutely. That is something that I started doing a while ago, and it makes it much easier to find things. So, Mitchell says, just use 12 volts, it will solve all of the issues. So this is in reference to the LED problem. Okay, so I have, over the years, I've used WS series LEDs on many, many projects, as I'm sure you all have as well. I've used the WS2811 quite a few times. The 2811 is the standalone chip that was later integrated into the WS2812. So before the WS2812 existed, so the integrated chip with the built-in driver, what you would do is buy the WS2811, which is the driver chip. I think it's in a SOP 8, so it's fairly large relatively. And then you would combine that with a 50/50 RGB LED, but just a plain LED, like a common anode LED with connections for red, green and blue. And then what you would do is you'd supply whatever voltage. I think it was pretty common to supply 5 volts to the anode of the LED, and then the 3 cathodes would go to the driver pins on the WS2811 chip. So the chip would drive it, and essentially it would work just like the addressable LEDs we all know and love. So like a WS2812, except that it was a separate chip and an LED that you would typically stick next to each other. And I'd use those in many projects, and I still use them in specific circumstances. And then the 2812 came along, which just merged the two together. I'm just looking for, what have I got here code-wise as an example that I can show you. Recent, there's a whole lot of, in my recents, there's a whole lot of customer projects. Well, actually, OpenKO is a good one. Let's have a look at that. The code for that is, it's kind of a little bit messy, but it's probably not too bad. Where are we? Superhouse projects, OpenKO firmware. And yes, open. All right. So this is the code. Let's make this bigger. Yeah, so this is very commonly how I structure basic Arduino projects. There will be the main sketch itself, starting off with some documentation, so it explains what it does and how it works and how to set up stuff. There's a version, and then I pretty much always have this structure. So a config, libraries, global variables, and function signatures.
Mitchell R. said the WS2812 is 12 years old.
Yep.
WHAAA.
Yep. And yeah, so there's an RGB LED module that Freetronics used to make. In fact, we kind of still make it, which came out before the WS2812. And it was done with the WS2811 on one side and a 50/50 RGB LED on the other side. It was a double-sided load on a tiny little module. So basically put the chip on the back of the LED. What have we got? Oh yeah, and in this one you can see that there is not all that much apart from all of this setup stuff. This is from here, setup, down to here. That is the entire OpenKO main program file, just those lines there. So it does the basic setup and begins the connection to the KO, and then it's just got a couple of things that are called, a couple of handlers that are called in the loop. One is listening to the USB serial stream, one is listening to the KO serial stream. And these actual things are done elsewhere. So then we have serial comms, which is what does the listen to USB serial stream and the send message to KO and listen to KO serial stream and then process it and do all the buffering and stuff like that. But the point of referencing what Mitchell is saying is I have a config.h, and what I typically do is structure it so I've got general config at the top, and you can see that it's got these options that you can turn on and off, CAN bus and various other things. So these are things that so I split this config into two functional groups conceptually. The top section, which is the general, like the main config section, are things that you can change without changing hardware. And then if we come down here, you can see there's a second section which is hardware specific config. This is the section that is tied to the hardware profile, the actual board that we're running on. So if there is a revision in the hardware, you may have to change this, but you shouldn't have to change this. And if it can target multiple boards, then I'll do like an if-def in here and check for the platform that we're targeting. So whatever we've been compiled for, you could do things like select different pins based on the platform. Then, yeah, but basically having all of this defined in here makes it very easy to find things. It drives me nuts now when I look back through some of my old code and I want to do something like find what pin I had assigned for a certain purpose, and it's not all in one place. So with this, I can go into config. With all of my more recent projects, I can go into config and see, oh yeah, these are all the pins, and know exactly what it is. And no magic numbers, so don't reference any pin numbers or anything else anywhere else in the code. That's the general rule anyway. Okay, so the LED problem. What you can see in here is, if we come into, where's the LED? I think it's in here. Status LED. Okay, so this thing that we did last week was before my painful week of having issues with LEDs. And so this is the trick. I'm not going to go into all this again because we talked about this last week. I don't want to rehash all of this too much. But this approach is running the LED at about 4.3-ish volts, probably a little bit higher than that when the current is low, because the voltage drop across the diode here will vary depending on current. So it brings the WS2813B down into an operating voltage where the data pin is within spec. However, the thing is, you can almost always run these LEDs at 3.3 volts and they'll work just fine. You can either run the LED at 3.3 volts directly and just have this connected straight to a 3.3 volt I/O pin, or you can run the LED at 5 volts and run the data pin at 3.3 volts and it will still work. It is out of spec. It's not meant to work. Well, when I say it's not meant to work, it's the specifications for the LED say that the minimum for a high logic on the data in is 0.7 of VCC. So 0.7 of VCC is, my math is bad, 3.5 volts. So you need to be able to drive up to 3.5 volts into data in to signify a logic high. But of course, if you're running off a 3.3 volt microcontroller, you can never get 3.5 volts into this. So in theory, you can't drive this off a 3.3 volt microcontroller. In practice, you can. It's out of spec, but it works most of the time, but not always. And there is another complication. So on a customer design, what I'm doing, I'm not going to explain all of the rest of it because it's a customer design that's under NDA, but I'll explain. So I won't give you context, I'll just give you the specifics of the LED driver. What's happening is that there is an onboard WS2813B, just like this, and the output, so the data out from that LED, is not going to another WS2813B. Instead, it is going to a WS2811 driver chip, which, remember, is like a 14-year-old chip, and it runs at 5 volts, and it requires properly spec'd 5 volt logic, so 0.7 times VCC, 3.5 volt logic highs. So you need the 3.5 volt logic highs coming out of the first LED to drive the WS2811, which is the next one in the chain. And in fact, there are a couple of WS2811s. And so what I can't do is just run the first LED at 3.3 volts. I have to run it at a voltage that is high enough to generate the signal on the output that'll drive the WS2811. And that is where my headaches were. So then what I was doing was running a level shifter on this. So the design that I was running had, so for context, I have, I think 6, like I've got reels of WS series LEDs here, and I'm pretty sure I currently have 6 reels of different types. Just enumerating a couple. I've got the classic WS2812, 2812B, 2813, 2813B, 2813 Mini, 2813B Mini. Oh, and I've got a couple of others as well, like the non-WS series, but some of the alternative series, but not as full reels. But I've got 6 full reels of different generations and different types and different footprints of these. And actually, not full reels, but in addition to that, so of the WS2812s, I have 3 different generations, because when you're looking at something like a WS2813B, there's the classic WS2813B that came out first, then there's the 13B V1, then the V2, I think currently up to V5. So in theory, like if you order a WS2813B, you might get parts from, it'll be from that generation, but it could be any one of like 5 different revisions of the hardware. So there are internal revisions that have been released, and you don't necessarily even know what you're going to get. Like you'll order a reel of WS2813Bs, and the last reel you got might have been -V1, and then you get another reel and it's -V5. So yeah, if I was just running these directly, I think I would be okay. But the complication, this is what made it a pain, was the fact that I'm taking the output from this and using it to drive a WS2811. If it wasn't for that, my life would be much simpler. Oh, I've missed heaps of chat. Yes, Austin says, or you can save yourself all the LED trouble and use a compatible logic level converter. Okay, Austin, no, I won't do it today. But it turns out that was my problem, because I was running a level shifter and it was screwing up the signal into the data inline, and the WS was not getting a clean signal. And I could see it on the scope. So what I had was the classic level shifter circuit just on the data line. So what I was doing was running the LED at 5 volts, didn't have this diode in it, so it was running properly at 5 volts. And then I was running a level shifter from 3.3 volts to 5 volts on the on this data line. And it was driving me crazy, because I would assemble boards and they would work fine, the LED would work fine, and then I would power them down or do something and then power them back up again, and all of a sudden the LED wouldn't be working. And I would rework the LED because I thought maybe there was a like a bad solder joint or something, and then the LED would start working again, and then I'd power cycle it and it would stop working. And I would assemble like 8 boards identical simultaneously with the same like LEDs off the same reel. The boards were identical, Some of them the LED would work, some it wouldn't work. So I chucked the scope on the level shifter, and what I could see was that the signal that was coming from the microcontroller was nice and clean on the input side of the level shifter, and the signal that was between the level shifter and the LED was horrible. It was really, really bad. And I ended up reworking some boards. So I took the level shifter off the board and I just put a solder bridge on it, and kept the LEDs running at 5 volts for power, and just brought the raw 3.3 volt data signal in, and it worked. So it was a real pain. Stephen says, use a 7.4 series non-inverting buffer as a level shifter. Yeah, I could go for a proper level shifter rather than the dodgy transistor sort of thing. Okay. Austin says, we need to switch you to Platform IO and KiCad. Yeah, I was really tempted to switch over. So Mitch, as in not Mitchell, but Mitch, who was here at the last barbecue, is going to give me a, so we've talked about him doing a live introduction to KiCad session, and we're going to do that, I think, sometime soon. So where were we? Okay, so KiCad, yes, that is definitely on the cards. Platform IO though, not so much. I've used it for a few projects, and I was using it for a customer project and had huge problems with it. There was it was having problems compiling. So this was compiling for ESP32 with CAN bus, and it was totally screwing up the underlying RTOS to the extent that CAN bus communications kept failing in strange ways. The processor would run, and the timing on CAN bus was totally screwed, and timing on other things as well. So it was like the RTOS's timing loop was all thrown. I ended up wasting days and days, and my customer got really pissed at me because I had all these boards that we couldn't use. We were trying to track, so I was doing things like, at first we thought that it was a batch of ESP32s. So I ended up reworking some boards, replaced the ESP32s because we were using, there were different revisions of the ESP32, and there was a major hardware revision at a certain point where they changed the CAN controller circuit inside the ESP32, and we were building these boards right at this transition point between these two revisions, and we had some boards with the older version of the ESP32, like the ESP32D, and we had some with the ESP32E, and we were getting different results between them. So I was swapping MCUs and doing all sorts of stuff, trying to figure out what this timing problem was. Turned out that it was Platform IO all along, and yeah, I would have spent maybe 3 days trying to track this down, what looked like a hardware problem. And at some point I thought, I'm just going to take this code back into Arduino IDE, compile it, and see what happens. And it just worked. Like, all of the boards were fine. They worked perfectly. It was all in Platform IO, compiling the code and screwing it up in some way. And I never got to the bottom of it, but since then I have not trusted Platform IO. Okay, I want to design a PCB heater. Okay, F1, I have missed most of most of the chat. So I'm going to quickly go back. Tradie Trev says, this is in relation to ordering PCBs. Costs wouldn't worry you too much, I thought, being low volume. Yeah, but $30 is $30. I'm not rich. I'm in a strange situation at the moment where I've got more contracting work than I can deal with. And I'm invoicing a lot every month, but I'm basically not seeing it because of what's going on in my personal life that I won't get into right now. Yeah, all the money goes somewhere else. So I don't really have access to funds. Where are we? Austin said, my trike has been having some serious issues since it failed during a vacation road trip and repairs aren't going
Amanda
well.
Thompson said, John, just a quick squirrel. Have you shipped my Superhouse order yet?
Amanda, I did ship your Superhouse order. In fact, you should have got an email about it. You should have got a shipping confirmation with a photo of the package. Perhaps something went wrong with the shipping notification system. But when did I ship it?
Mitchell R. said, what money is the correct term, lol? I know the feeling all too well, haha.
Yeah. When did I ship it? It was a few days ago. Well, it's Sunday today. It was like late last week sometime. My sense of time is screwed up. Stephen says WS2818B is the standalone chip now. Really? I had no idea. WS2818B. I didn't know that there was an updated chip. You're right. There is. That's really
Mitchell
cool.
R. said Steve wasn't involved with Amanda's order. That is your problem.
Yeah, Steve wasn't involved. Cool. Stephen W., thank you very much for that tip. I didn't even know that there was an update to the WS2811, so there's a 2818B. I might get myself some of those. I already have like I don't know, half a reel or something left of the WS2811, but I'm going to need to get more before long, so I'll check out the 2818. Where are we? Okay, so this is another squirrel. So F1 Lab says, hello, I wanted to design a PCB heater. What software should I use to create the Gerber file? I'm a noob. The PCB heater design is available on PCBWay project. I want to update that project. Thank you. Okay, so first, the one consideration is if you want to update an existing design, then the easiest thing is to continue with the software that it was in, unless you want to recreate it from scratch. Now, if only the Gerber files have been released, that's like, in document terms, it's like having a word processor document and then generating a PDF. You don't edit the PDF, you go back to the original word processor document and you edit it and then you generate a new PDF. So the Gerber files are like the PDF, it's the output files. If all they've given you is the Gerber files, then you really need to recreate the whole thing from scratch. And in that case, you can use whatever software you like, but as I'm sure just about everybody in the chat here will recommend, I think probably KiCad is the way to go. That would, if you were starting out right now, and you hadn't done any PCB design before, you weren't tied to a particular tool, then KiCad is the way. So, but if you are doing this based on an existing design and they have released the original design files, then it's probably easiest to take those files and open them in whatever software they used in the first place, if you just want to make like minor changes to it or something like that. Where are we? So Chip said that I've done a small PCB heater before. Should be able to find it in my history. Yeah, one thing. Okay, I'm going to just grab something here. I did this.
Engineering said, John, why would you ever need a live stream topic? There always enough to put up to cover a live stream.
You're absolutely right, Dodgy. Because I was away from the computer, I don't know if you could all hear that, but Dodgy said, "There's why do I ever need a topic? Because there's always enough." I was using this during the week. So it looks dodgy, but this is a power cable wired to a 300 watt heating plate, which I got on AliExpress for, I don't know, I think it was like $10 for 2 of them, something like that. So it's a YG300W-N heating plate. I don't even know what it's meant to be for, I don't remember. But basically you can attach this to something and then run power, 240 volts into it, and it gets stinking hot. Now it just happens to turn out that if you plug this in and just leave it turned on, it hits a max temperature, which is
said, DW, I've seen more doggy stuff.
which is pretty much right to be a reflow hot plate. And the reason that I did this during the week was that I was working on that LED rework thing. I had a whole lot of boards that needed reworking, and the LEDs were right next to, what were they next to? A connector and I think a little piezo in a plastic case. And if I hit it with hot air, it would have melted those things that were right next to the LED. And it just made more sense to do it with a hot plate.
David Crisp said, what was that part number for the heater?
Part number for the heater is YG, well, you can't read that, YG300W-N. I could find it for you. YG 300W, so 300 watt dash N, and I'm going to find it in my my purchase history spreadsheet and give you the link.
Maker said the heaters are for hair straighteners.
Heaters are for hair straighteners? Really? I didn't know that. Now, 300 watt. Let's see if I can find it in my purchase history and see how long ago I bought it. Because I bought this for, oh, here we go. I bought it in February 2022, and it was, I paid $14.54 for 2 of them. So I will drop the link into the chat. Yeah, $8.68 plus shipping is $5.57 is the current thing. I don't know why I'm getting the, is it Vietnamese? vi.aliexpress.com. Strange. Maybe AliExpress thinks that I'm in Vietnam. I will bring this one up here and back to here. No, don't allow. So this, oh, actually what I'll do is I'm going to get, here we go. Use this link. This is an affiliate link. And that way I'll get like 10 cents or something if you do order it from here. So that is a hot plate. Where are we? Oh, it actually says LED remover, heating, soldering, chip welding, BGA station, blah, blah, blah. So I bought 2 of these because I was going to make a tiny little desktop reflow oven, but it works fine just as a hot plate underneath as well. Why is my computer beeping at me constantly? There is something going on. I don't know. I'm going to ignore that for now. Now, where are we?
Unexpected Maker said, I can't find the link to the one Use has, but for example.
Ah, okay. But for example, Ozcart.com.au products, I'm going to open that one. So this is, did that work? Where is that opening? Oh, professional hair straightener. Cool. This is the link that Sion just sent through. Professional hair straightener. Interesting. So you can get a hair straightener and then use that. Yeah, so it says actual max temperature up to 243 degrees Celsius. So, yeah, interesting. Oh, the beep is Discord. Yeah, you're right. Okay. So I'm getting lots of Discord notifications. Where are we? Sion says the others has a wider one that matches the heat plates exactly. Ah, interesting.
Henrik Ostrov said, John, sorry about the peeps. They are me sending stuff to your DC.
That's all right. No worries, Henrik. Now, I did want to get where are we? Where are we? I don't know. I did want to get to Amanda's topic as well. All right, I'm going to get that off there. And all right, so anyway, enough of that. All of this started because I was going to give you a quick recap of where this is up to. So this is, come on, is my Space Mouse going to work? I've got to unplug it and plug it back in again. Okay, there we go. That's out of sync, maybe. Anyway, that's kind of how it looks at the moment. So we've got the right angle reset button at the top and fuse holder sticking out at the top of the board. Quick connector up there, USB is moved down. So this is pretty much what you would have seen.
Ostrov said, what's the Amanda's topic?
We'll get to that in a second, Henrik. So yeah, it looks pretty much the same as what you saw last time, except that it's got the silk screen updated and it's got the pin out there on the back. So yeah, I need to send it off for fabrication. So I'm gonna quit out of this, don't save.
Mitchell R said, can you change the color on the 3D view of the board itself like Easy EDA?
Yes, you can. Yeah,
Amanda Thompson
you can make
said
it black or
50
whatever.
minutes is a quick recap for you, John.
Yeah, you're right, Amanda. 50 minutes is a quick recap. Yeah, when you're doing it didn't used to have these options. I kind of want to, yeah, this is the room detector thing. This is Amanda's idea. So we'll get to that in a second. I'm going to reopen Fusion, which will take a little while, to show you. So it used to be that when you pushed from, so when Eagle was separate to Fusion, if you did a push from Eagle into Fusion, you had very, very little control over the appearance, but now there is a lot more control.
Imogen Ann said, Jono, do you know if Gerber the same CAD program used for clothing pattern making?
I believe it is, yes. So Gerber files are used for lots and lots of different types of machines that need a geometry to be defined, like defining positions of holes or polygons and shapes and all those sorts of things. So a Gerber file is just a standardized format for representing shapes. And so it's used for PCB design, but it's also used for all sorts of other things. And I didn't specifically know about clothing. I don't know about clothing pattern making, but that does not surprise me in the slightest. That would totally make sense for clothing pattern making systems to use Gerber files. But yeah, lots of things could. So if we go into here and do the push again, And also, who was it? Was it Mitchell or Austin? Somebody was asking about the changing the color in the 3D view. So if I open the 3D view here, and I'm going to get rid of the data panel. Yeah, there are certain things that follow, that carry through. So if we go into...
Imogen Ann said, I have used it in around 2013. Too expensive to get for myself, $30,000 at the time, and they were rather exclusive as to who they would sell to back then.
Ooh, $30,000 for a pattern making machine. Wow. Okay, so at the moment you can see that the ground plane has been poured. If I rip up the ground plane and I then sync to 3D, then it won't have the ground plane on it in the 3D view. And if I pour the ground plane and sync, then it will be included. So what we can do is if I go, and it considers this to be unsaved, I don't care. I'm going to push to 3D. And what you can see here is options in terms of pushing. So solder masks, we can include it. You can include different geometry, copper texts, polygons and things, traces, vires. You can turn them all on or off. So if you wanted to, you could do it so that you don't have vires included in the 3D model. Components, you can turn them on and off, so you could exclude certain things if you didn't want them to appear. You can also exclude them on the other side once it ends up in the 3D version. Silk screen options. So if we go into, how do we do this? I can't remember. Effect, higher quality, that's silk screen quality. Somewhere in here, there is also an option for board color. I can't remember. It's in here somewhere. So yeah, you can do things like push it and make the PCB black. Maybe you can do that on the other end as well. So then once it comes into the 3D view, modify, what can we do in here? Modify, why is that menu not opening? Oh goody. Oh, now it is. No, no, yes, no. No, come on, open that menu. There we go. Edit board, what does that do? What does that let us do? Oh, that's editing the board profile. Yeah, so you can use all of Fusion's geometry tools and everything. You can edit the board in here. Oh, I've got, my camera is set to perspective instead of orthographic. So we'll change it to orthographic. So you can use all of the power of Fusion 360's 3D tools to edit your board geometry, which is really, really cool. Then configure 3D PCB. Oh, here we go. So here we can do things like...
Henrik Ostrov said, why the USB still there?
Why the USB... Where? Why the USB still there? I don't know. We need USB. Don't understand that question. Anyway, I'm not going to go into this too much. In fact, let's just quit out of that, or I'm going to keep talking about this thing for the rest of the stream. Don't save. No, I don't want to save changes.
Henrik Ostrov said, go back blue weave.
Don't save. We're halfway through. Thanks, Steve.
System notification. 1 hour remaining.
Now, while Fusion is closing, all right, so now...
Mitchell R. said he... There, not there, grin haha.
That's USB there, not there. Okay. I still don't get it.
Mitchell R. said he means USB, not USB. It's the USB there, not there, grin haha.
I'm confused. I don't know. Anyway, Amanda contacted me during the week about talking about this idea for a project. And this is something that other people might be interested in. There are maybe Amanda will want to explain this a little bit more, and I might be misexplaining it. So anyway, I will do my best. Over the years, there have been many projects for things like environmental sensors. What's the term for it? A multi-sensor? A couple of years ago, doing multi-sensors was kind of like the thing. Many people did home automation multi-sensors. I did a couple myself. And
Mitchell R. said there is a YouTuber who just released a product like this.
Ooh, okay. Please drop in a reference. There's yeah, so I did a couple of designs and stuck them on GitHub, made some prototypes, never actually released them for sale because they ended up just being too expensive. But multi-sensors, like a little device that you could put in a room in your house somewhere, and it would measure temperature and humidity, atmospheric pressure, and maybe other things like maybe detect movement, etc.
Mitchell R. said everything smart home.
Everything smart home. Okay, cool. Everything smart home. I may have seen this recently. Where was this? Everything presents. Oh, right. Yes. Presents 1. Yes, I did see that one. Okay, we will get to that.
Mitchell R. said I sent a link to his video.
Yep. Cool. Thanks, Mitchell. It's in the it's in the link is in the chat now. So I will also bring this up on screen. Yep, got it. I will take all the cookies, please. All the cookies. I need cookies at the moment. I definitely need cookies today. I need something. Yeah, there is stuff going on in my brain at the moment that I'm not going to talk about on stream that has really been getting to me. But the result is my my state of mind is not as good as it could be. So, everything smart home, automating all the things. Yes, so this is, which is also a very good YouTube channel. And you should all go and check it out. And back here, this is back in stock. So this is not the actual thing, not the original video. So the video is what Mitchell put in the put a link to. So this is using millimeter wave radar for presence detection. And it looks like it's got PIR, so passive infrared motion detection as well. That looks like an ESP under there somewhere. And what is that? I don't know. Could be a USB to serial converter chip. And it... Oh, where are we? So SHT...
said sending virtual hugs, Jonna.
Thanks, Imi. So then there's an environmental sensor, it looks like there. There's like an SHT-C3.
Scott Miller said, sent you a cookie by P less than.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, so everything presents 1. The idea is that this is a device... Oh, okay, it even says here what it's got. 24 gigahertz millimeter wave sensor for accurate presence detection, passive infrared motion sensor for lightning fast response, temperature and humidity, ambient lighting, Bluetooth, and an ESP32 for connectivity. Okay, so EP1, which is everything presence 1. That is the, so this is Lewis's project, which is very cool. So there are...
Ostrov said the chips looks like CH340 most. Use some clone Arduinos.
Yeah, CH340G is the common one, which is a USB to serial converter. So it's probably a classic ESP32, which doesn't have built-in USB. And then that chip would be the USB to serial converter. So, okay, I'm just going to give a quick recap. You can read this yourself on screen as well. So this is Amanda's ideas. Room detector. To create a room detector that will detect
Henrik
the
Ostrov
presence.
said you can search Great Scott Radar.
Great Scott Radar. Yes. So Great Scott Gadgets is a channel that did a number. I think he did some reviews of millimeter wave radar systems, which are really, really cool. They're one of those technologies that I've been wanting to experiment with, and I just haven't got to. Okay, I'm going to try to give this recap, and then we can start getting into all of those things. So to create a room detector that will detect the persistence of presence in a room while monitoring room temperature, humidity, and being able to view the room with a camera. Now that's an interesting twist to it. The persistence of presence should be able to distinguish between humans and pets. Dogs, cats, and birds should also be able to detect whether the human is sleeping and whether the human has fallen. So this could be used for like a safety thing for elderly people, like an assisted living sort of situation. The camera should be able to be viewed locally and externally to allow intruder detection, recording, and if a person has fallen with the script of Home Assistant or some other controller device. Software should be able to publish to MQTT and work with Home Assistant.
Said no. He just bought radar sensor from AliExpress. That was really good, actually.
Yeah, okay. And universal rack controller must have temperature sensor, humidity sensor, light sensor, human presence sensors, camera for streaming, Wi-Fi, Ethernet with PoE, USB-C, 12-volt DC power option. Nice to have. Bluetooth proxy for the device in the room section, such as a phone, a watch, or an AirTag. AI face detector, human presence sensors with fall and sleep detection. Other options include PIR and battery backup, and then there are some notes on here. So the way ESP Home does its Bluetooth proxy stuff is documented there.
Henrik Ostrov said he made a burglar.
Oh, look at
alarm
this.
with it.
Yeah, cool. So everything presence 1, Amanda has already referenced it here. Component sources, so there is the millimeter wave thing. All right, so Amanda was already ahead of us with the presence 1 as a reference. Now, this is where so this is all the information I have basically. This is what Amanda sent me. So what would be really interesting to know is where this deviates from...
Mitchell R. said, I send a link for Ajax security in chat. Add it to the doc for some visual looking ideas that look good.
Oh. Sent a link for Ajax security. Mitchell... Where is Mitchell in the chat? Hang on, send a link for Ajax security in chat. Oh, you're talking about... Oh, okay. Here we go. Sorry, I thought you meant in like our personal chat, but no, it was in the video chat. All right, so motion cam jeweler from Baseline, wireless motion detector with a photo camera to verify alarms. Where to buy? Okay, so let's stick this as a reference in. Amanda, I hope you don't mind me editing this document. But I find that at this sort of stage of a project, it is really useful to built-in camera. I can't talk and type at the same time. It is really useful to be able to I just dump lots of things into a document and collate it, so that then later when I'm thinking...
said that things with radar sensors are you can configure a lot of parameters.
Yeah, then later, because the thing is that at this stage of a project, when you're just brainstorming and looking for things, there will be so many things that we come across, and then a week later you think, hang on, I remember there was something that was like a motion detector, but it had a camera in it, and where was that again? And I don't know. So yeah, at this stage, I just drop everything into the document and then use that as the the big melting pot of ideas that then starts to form into what this should be. All right, so Amanda, you're obviously, because you had this in here already, everything presence 1, there are obviously things that, oh, Ajax, already in there. Amanda is editing it at the same time as me.
Henrik Ostrov said I was able to install Ajax sensors during my internship. They were very interesting and worked well.
Oh, okay. Good to hear. Because we've doubled up on this, I am going to get rid of that. I'll edit that out of the document. I assume that is Amanda. Yes, Amanda has added that. All right, getting back, trying to finish my thought from 5 minutes ago. The question is, because Amanda was obviously already aware of everything presence 1, so EP1, what in particular are the differentiating features, or basically the question comes down to, there are already various sensors around, why design another one? Now I don't mean that in a nasty way, it's a way of clarifying the expectations and the goals for the project so that whatever is built here ends up being actually useful and something that you want. So yes, okay, so Amanda is just highlighting in the document there. So this is something that existing sensors probably can't do, and so distinguishing between humans and pets, and also detecting if a human is sleeping and whether they've fallen. Those are very, very difficult things to do with traditional sensors. Things like a passive infrared motion detector, it is almost impossible. You can have, with a PIR, what you can do is have a lens, they're called pet alley lenses, where they won't detect things that are close to the ground. They'll only detect something like a person walking around, and they'll ignore dogs and cats. But sometimes you want to detect the dog and the cat. Like, you might want to know that your animal is in a room in the house. So you want to detect it, but you want to be able to distinguish that from a human, which might be in the room as well. So detecting the difference between a person and an animal. Now, what happens if you have a toddler? So you've got like a 4-year-old or something who is in a house with a big dog, and the dog is physically as big or bigger than the toddler. How do you distinguish between them? And then, like 4-year-old's bigger than a toddler, but anyway, you know what I mean. So I'm talking, yeah, I mean like a 2-year-old. Also detecting whether the human is sleeping and whether the human has fallen. Now, if a person is stationary for a period of time, even just you go into the lounge room and you sit down on the couch to watch TV, and you're stationary for a while, then motion detectors will not pick you up and they will not think that the room is occupied. So being able to detect the presence of a person who is stationary, and that is where things like the millimeter wave radar works well, because they can detect breathing, and I think some of them can detect heartbeats. So if you could be in the room and lying on the couch totally stationary, and the millimeter wave radar will detect your breathing, and that is enough motion for it to be able to know that there is someone in the room. But being able to know whether the person is sleeping or whether they've fallen, I don't know how you would differentiate that. So this sort of distinction of what we're talking about here, this is the sort of thing where you would want
45 minutes remaining.
You would want something like vision processing and machine learning, I think, would be the way to do it. So having the camera in it would be a vital part of this process. And I know I've said this on the stream many times before, and I will probably say it many times again, but more and more over the years, I have come to realize that a lot of sensing problems can be solved by pointing a camera at something and processing the vision. rather than trying to use some kind of other sensor system. Now, obviously, specific sensors, you can't detect humidity with a camera. There are certain parameters about the environment or certain things that you want to measure that do require specialist sensors. But a lot of the time, you can piggyback on the processes that humans already use. Like, we use our eyes to explore the environment around us and be able to differentiate and tell what is going on without touching things or whatever. Just vision alone is an incredibly powerful tool. And if you couple a camera or multiple cameras with a machine learning system, you can do incredible things. Things that you couldn't do with other sensors. You know, things like reading sign language. So someone could be signing, I can't sign, so I'm not even going to pretend to, but someone could be using their hands to do sign language.
Maybe thermal camera as well, so you can't look through walls to see intruders.
And you could be doing sign language to a camera, and the machine learning system could be taking that sign language and turning it into text. So doing like sign to text. Oh, Chip says humidity can be detected with a camera. They do it from space using spectrographic tactics. Yeah, okay, so yes, that's a yeah, that's a very specific circumstances, but you're right. Sorry, my voice is really weird today. I've got a drink. That's better. Feeling a little bit better. David says, camera with the UV IR filter removed. Now, okay, so this is probably the big differentiating thing with existing systems. Now, thinking about this, this is all a thought experiment at the moment. It's like just thinking through how this sort of thing could work. I'm not convinced that it makes sense to combine all of these things into a single package. In many cases, I think if you have something like security cameras in a building already, like maybe you have a security camera in the corner of the room looking down and being able to see the whole room, you take that video feed and run that into a machine learning system and take other sensors like temperature and humidity sensors that might be attached to the wall as part of the climate control system. That is another input to the smarts, whatever it is that is dealing with all of this logic, and integrating, so sensor fusion essentially, fusing the outputs from all of these different data sources and sensors into a decision-making or analytics process that will then act on that information is kind of, well, that's the systems thinking way of doing it. So doing a single device that incorporates all of these sensors, so we're talking about motion detector, basically everything that's in the EP1, so PIR motion detector, millimeter wave motion detector, temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, and also camera, and then the other Bluetooth stuff kind of just comes along free for the ride. That's not a problem. It's the sensor side of it that is the issue. Maybe it's not that much of a stretch. But what it feels like a little bit is that this is a bit of a kitchen sink approach, like putting everything into one box, when it may be that having a camera that is separate to this might be more economical and end up with a device that is not as large, because the camera could be quite large. Yeah, so this is really interesting. And I think this is where this comes into the differentiation part of it. I think that to be able to do things like fall and sleep detection and differentiating between pets and humans, you really need the machine learning aspect of that. And this is where this could be a very powerful device. It's taking the general environmental sensor part of it.
Mitchell said might be better to do a module system, so like a module you can add for cam or whatnot, so base cost is low and can easily add more things, lower base cost and allow flexi.
Yep, that's a good point, Mitchell. So make it modular. Maybe not modular within the same enclosure, or although it could be. If we could get all of this inside an enclosure that is equivalent to a motion detector, I think that would be okay. So, oh, Trady says YOLO does basic object detection. Sorry, I've been. Andrew Cochran said, doesn't Google have a dev ML, as in machine learning, on the edge board? I think they do. Yeah. Yeah, and Stephen says you can buy security cameras that do AI face detection. Yes, definitely. And there are things like the... I've gone blank on its name. I've got one of them. There is the... I think it starts with an M. There is a type of camera... So my friend Andy is a big fan of them. He just recently got a couple of robots.
said I've only just arrived, so please forgive the lack of context. Something like DetectNet on the Jetson Nano. Xavier may be perfect for this. I'm using something similar on the robot.
Yes, and there's what is the name of that particular camera system? I've gone blank on it. A couple of years ago, there was a tiny little camera that came out. It was like a cube about this big, and it had an SD card slot in it, and it was running a very small machine learning system.
Said, I've sent a link to your messenger him what sensor they use.
And basically what happened was you could plug a USB cable into it, and it gave you a serial, like a virtual serial output, and you could just point it at things and it would output what it was. Like you'd point it at a dog and it would output dog. Point it at a face and it would, say whatever. And
Mitchell said Hike Vision, Dahua, Uniview, Wise Hanwha.
Yeah, so those are all companies that, no, not ESP Cam, Dentistry said. No, there's a Movidius, that's it, Movidius. I'm going to bring this up. Movidius. Intel Movidius. Yes. Here we go. Vision processing unit. So the Movidius camera is a, let's see, Movidius camera. And they also made the compute unit on a USB stick that you could plug into, say, a Raspberry Pi, and then do machine learning, very powerful machine learning on a Raspberry Pi. I don't think it was quite this one, but it's something very similar to this. So this is it's a camera with the Movidius chip built into it that does, so you can do detection directly in the camera. Instead of taking the video stream and sending it back to some central location where you've got the model running, and then you can do object detection and all of those sorts of things. This can actually be done directly within the camera. But this is much more powerful than just something like face detection. It's you can create your own model, so you can do your own training. The idea is that this is like a general purpose machine learning vision system, all within a tiny little device. So what you can do is teach it your particular requirements. Like maybe you want to categorize fish, or I don't know, all sorts of things, or use it for processing fruit on a production line and detect discoloration on the fruit, or whatever your application is. It can be done directly inside the camera, because you can do your training and then, although you don't do the training in the camera. I think generally what you would do is you would collect training data, and then you do the training, and then you generate the model, and the model gets loaded into the camera. So it can then do right on the edge processing, and it can detect things like, you could teach it to recognize specific humans and tell the difference between your dog and your cat and all of that sort of thing.
Unexpected Maker said, have it identify and sort my CHMT parts all over my carpet.
Yeah, Sion. That's a good way to do it. Yeah, like a random part, like the where is it? No, I'm not going to get into that now. I was going to start talking about OpenPNP. There is a vision processing feeder in OpenPNP called Heap Feeder, I think it is, where you just dump parts out, and it uses the camera to find the parts and work out their orientations and everything, and pick them all up.
Processing. The other extreme from cloud computing.
Exactly, Scott. So edge processing is when you're pushing all of the functionality right down to the point where it is needed, and cloud is when you take that information and you send it back to some
game of Where's Wally Anyone?
centralized system, and then so edge computing. And of course the best thing is to use whatever is appropriate and not be too wedded to one specific thing. Oh, Johnny said, isn't a Nook powerful enough to do it without a Coral module? Yeah, I would expect so. And you can do it on a Raspberry Pi too. So let's
Henrik Ostrov said, I still hope you can look my OLPCBS at the end MB.
I don't know, Henrik. I don't know if I've got the energy for that right now.
Amanda Thompson said it would all need to happen on the device.
Yes. So Amanda said it should be in the device. Now what am I looking for? Dingo Car Raspberry Pi. I'm just looking for where, so this is from the Open Hardware MiniConf 2020. This was a project that was driven that I was not intending to to make that pun, but it amuses me that I made it. This project was driven by my friend Andy, who was very keen to incorporate some machine learning into the Open Hardware MiniConf. And what we did was make a little self-driving car using a thing called a dingo cap. Now where is here we go, the perception module. I've got one of these. It's you can't quite see it. In fact, you see that rack right there? I should just grab it and show it to you. So this is the perception module. These are Lego compatible holes, and this would actually do a lot of what Amanda is talking about. It could be the basis for it. So this is a Raspberry Pi 3B, I think it was, or was it a Pi 4? I can't remember. Might have been a Pi...
System notification.
4. Oh no,
remaining.
Here we go. It's a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus with a camera, onboard power management with battery management in it, which ended up being a bit of a fail, but that could be fixed. It's got a little OLED on it and NeoPixel output. And this was designed to be the brains of the self-driving car. And you can see there's a camera here up in the top right side. That's a Raspberry Pi cam. And you can see on this one that it's angled down. The way this laser cut enclosure was designed. So this was designed by John Spencer And I can't remember if Andrew also did some of the design on this. I think it might have been John Spencer only. I don't remember. But one of those two, or both of those two very smart guys, did the design on the enclosure. And it's got spaces like standoffs and little countersunk bolts that go through. And then the camera is hanging up the side there, and it's got all of these Lego compatible holes so it could go on a mounting base, and servo outputs and things for driving the car. So then it's sat on top of the car like this. Now I'm showing you pictures. The real thing is sitting right behind me. It's about 2 meters away. So I could just be showing you the real thing. But this is the perception module sitting on top of an RC car that has had its remote control receiver removed, and the steering servo and the motor controller are plugged into this perception module. It's just got PWM outputs, and the battery is plugged into it as well. And what we did was, so the way this worked was that we did a training process where there was a track that was put, I wonder if there's a photo anywhere. I don't think there is. Well, there is, but not that I could easily quickly pull up. So what we did was set it up so that you would drive the car around the track using a remote control, like you could do it from your phone. And then as it was driving around, it would be recording the video of the racetrack, and then we would take that and run a training process which would build the this was all using TensorFlow. So you would train it based on the video that had been acquired from driving around the track manually, and then that would build a model. So you would not do that on the Raspberry Pi, but you would do that on your laptop, and it would create the it would create the model. You would then put the model back onto the Raspberry Pi, and the car could then drive itself around the track. That was the general thing. Let's see, software instructions. What have we got in here? There might be some information in here. Initial car setup. In fact, this might be useful for, turning your data into an AI model. So here we go. Acquiring the training data, driving the car around the track, and then use Google Colab to do the training, or you could do it on your local computer as well, so you don't need to use Google Colab. It just takes longer. And then you load the model that you've created and you let it drive itself in one of 3 different modes. Are there any photos on here? No, I don't think so. All right, so I'm going to drop this.
Pancake Legend says it's all me.
Oh, it was all you. Yes. Pancake did the design. Thank you. I haven't been reading the chat, so thanks for dropping that in the text-to-speech. So this very cool mechanical design was all done by Andrew. Yeah. I didn't know you were here in the chat, Andrew. So this is the link to this. So this might be useful in fact, what I should do is I'm going to stick it in here, because this might end up being useful in some way. TensorFlow self-driving car. Okay. Now, this is a self-driving car. It may not be immediately apparent that this is related to a room sensor, but the exact same procedure could be used. So instead of teaching a car to drive itself, you teach the sensor to recognize people and pets, and that would be done just by acquiring some training data, generating the model, and then loading the model onto the device. Now, doing some kind of machine learning at the edge like this requires a processor that is fast enough.
Mitchell R said self-driving Roomba.
Self-driving Roomba, yeah. So the Yeah, Pancake, I should have known that it was you because I know that you do have a thing for making stuff Lego compatible. Although I think John might have that little thing in his brain as well. Making stuff Lego compatible is a good idea. I'm gonna grab it. It is just up here, sitting on top of this shelf. This is such a work of art. It was a cool project. Here it is for real. Now so this is the RC car chassis. Andy bought heaps of these from a factory in China and got them all shipped over.
Mitchell R said, "How is your coffee going?"
My coffee? I had a coffee earlier. It does seem to be...
Ostroff said self-driving cocktail bar with cocktail robot.
What was that? Oh, that's a that is the rubber band that has perished. So the this base plate that fits onto the chassis is laser cut out of ply and held on with rubber bands. And then sitting on top of that, I'm just going to shove that aside for now, is this thing, which is the perception module. And this is the Raspberry Pi. You can see it's a stack up here. Where's the camera? There it is. There is a Raspberry Pi and a cap. And the cap does all of the I/O stuff necessary for driving the car. It's got the PWM outputs here. There's a little display. There's a charging connector there so you can recharge the battery. What else has it got? I don't know, a couple of things. There are some buttons there that are exposed. I can't remember all the functions of that, but it's got the camera there mounted on the front. And the way this is designed, you can put this camera at different angles. So I wish you could see this in person. It's a really clever design. The camera
could you plug it in? How it does.
is mounted. The camera is mounted on a couple of smaller pieces that screw on the inside of the main chassis, so that you can orient them in different directions to change the angle of the camera. So this is a module that incorporates the Raspberry Pi, the I/O, and the camera. Now, if this also, you need to move it around a little bit to make the shape a little bit different, change the enclosure. But if that cap was changed to add, say, a millimeter wave radar and an environmental sensor and maybe PIR, then what I've got in my hands right here is what Amanda is talking about to a large extent. Not 100%, but it's in the ballpark. It is something that could do vision processing on the edge, and in a self-contained way, because you've got the Raspberry Pi in there, it can connect via Wi-Fi, connect via Ethernet.
Said, "Looks like I might have to fly down for the barbecue day soon."
Yes, you will. And we could do PoE. So I've done several different Raspberry Pi hats actually with PoE on them, so that's not a problem. So maybe the way to approach this, at least in terms of an initial iteration, not necessarily a totally optimized iteration, but something to get started with, would be a Raspberry Pi with the necessary I/O, whatever the devices, the sensors are that you want, on a cap with the camera mounted on it in such a way that the orientation would probably be more like this, like square on rather than edge on. So this is designed to sit on the top of the self-driving car chassis, and it doesn't matter if it's kind of high and it's narrow. Not that that matters either. It could have been oriented like this. I don't actually know, I don't remember why it ended up being oriented like that. It's just the way it is. I think because the, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of a sandcrawler from Star Wars. If this was scaled up and yeah, the Jawas could go inside.
Edge on for old school cameras.
Edge on for old school cameras. Yeah. So this reminds me of a yeah, a sandcrawler. with the camera up where the control room is, the driving position. Okay, so this with the camera mounted around there somewhere, and power connections coming out the back, maybe like rotating it. I'm not sure exactly. Ethernet on the Raspberry Pi comes out here, which sucks, but that's the way it is. What else could we do? I don't know. Anyway, starting point. So maybe that's a reasonable starting point. What has what have people been saying? Oh, Dion says hello from Busan, South Korea. Are you on a trip at the moment, Dion? Something about Raspberry Pi link. Okay. Now Austin dropped in a link, which was, I saw this project the other day. What is that? If I click on this, am I going to regret it, Austin? Let's see.
A few years ago,
Oh, building a self-driving go-kart. Okay, I'm not going to play this video because I don't want to get copyright infringed. But this is building a self-driving go-kart. I'm just going to drop in. Where are we? I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Yeah, okay. It'll be interesting to see what techniques have been used in this project. How the machine learning and self-driving and all of that stuff was done. Applied Deep Learning Complete Self-Driving course.
Imogen Ann said this is your reminder to like and save the video into your favorite playlist. Smile.
Okay. Like and save the video into your favorite playlist. So you're talking about this one? I'm just going to leave it open because I'm going to watch this video afterwards. My playlist is an infinite number of open tabs. Okay, so I think a lot of the work here, so I don't see the hardware as being a really difficult challenge. Now, making hardware that is neat and small and looks good, that is a challenge. Making hardware that just
David Chris
functions.
Said, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah. Making hardware that just does these functions would
Mitchell said
be.
one day you'll reach my level of meditation. 1800 tabs in Chrome, 800 tabs in Edge. Firefox won't open green.
Firefox won't open. Okay, hang on. I'm going to have a look at Henrik's
Imogen
messages.
Ann said I was talking about your live stream, Jono. We must feed the algorithm beast.
Ah, feed the algorithm beast. Okay. Yes.
Unexpected Maker
Monitor.
said first product can be big and clunky.
Yes, definitely. Now, I'm just going to open this link that Henrik just sent. So this is presence detection with Raspberry Pi, Home Assistant, and monitor.
Henrik Ostrov said, but what I do if I'm already subscribed?
Subscribe again. So
David Crisp said barbarians.
I'm going to just drop
Scott
this
Miller
link
said
in
2600 tabs, amateur.
into here. Where are we? Other projects, Tensor, Raspberry Pi, presence detection. And yeah, I haven't actually read any of this yet, but it looks like something that is worth checking out. Now, yeah, so Sion is absolutely correct. First thing can be big and clunky, it doesn't really matter. This is just trying to make something that is going to work.
System notification, 15 minutes remaining.
Yeah, it can be parts on a bench. We just want to make the thing work. So I think a lot of this, it would be reasonably straightforward to cobble together a system based around a Raspberry Pi with a Pi camera on it and environmental sensors. You could wire a PIR motion detector into it. You could wire a millimeter wave radar into it very quickly. So we could do
Amanda
classic.
Thompson said the level of software development is way past my knowledge. Hence, I reason for suggesting it as a group project.
Yes, that's exactly that. That's very helpful, Amanda. So where I'm getting at is we can put the hardware platform together reasonably easily. It's like rubber bands and hot glue and stuff to get the source of data. It's the software, which is exactly the point that you're making, that is going to be the challenge. And that is going to be, I think that is largely going to be a machine learning exercise, because doing these things, temperature, humidity, light, that is all easy. We can do that, no problem at all. Ethernet with PoE, that's a hardware thing. I can take care of that. Wi-Fi, no problem.
Henrik Ostrov said one rule. 1 meter between every sensor. So for example, camera won't heat the temp sensor up.
1 meter between every sensor. Yeah, you're right. Things like temperature sensors can be affected by the board that they are on. So that's definitely a thing. So these 3 things here are not particularly a problem. So we could use a Raspberry Pi 4, which I think has USB-C and would have plenty.
Which is why I have stacks of UN released hardware sitting on my desk, because I have not done the software yet.
Yeah.
Boo-hoo.
Yep, I know that feeling. Bluetooth proxy would be taken care of. PIR could be taken care of quite easily. Battery backup is an issue if you are running enough horsepower in the device to run the machine learning system. Because something like a Raspberry Pi 4 takes a lot of power. The Pi 3B Plus takes a fair bit of power as well. You'd need a decent sized battery to run that. Like, we're talking about battery like for running a remote control car sort of size battery. And even that won't run it for all that long. Maybe a couple of hours, that sort of thing. Now, where the work is going to be with this is this. And this part is where Andy's assistance would be very, very helpful. So...
Henrik Ostrov said, is 1 kilometer better rolling on the floor laughing?
Amanda said we'd only need about 4 hours just to cover power outage. Okay. Now, one of the questions in relation to handling power outage is what else is going to be powered up and still functioning when you have a power outage? For example, if you have a self-contained presence detector in a room and it has internal battery backup so that it will keep running, is that useful if the rest of your system is dead? Like, say your internet connection has gone down because you've lost power and your termination device is... No, you couldn't. You couldn't use supercapacitors because they don't have enough energy density. Sorry, Henrik. We need to be pulling like an amp of power for hours at a time, and supercaps just won't handle that. You need big lipos or something, or lithium-ion batteries to deal with that sort of that number of watt hours of power. Yeah. Austin says, not everything needs to be text-to-speech, folks. Yeah. We need this, we need to strike a balance. The voice thing is really, really useful for getting my attention and for things that I miss. But if everybody says everything, it just turns into too much. All right. Yes. Backup is intended to still cover fall detection. Yeah, okay, so that's a good point.
Amanda Thompson said the backup is intended to still cover fall detection.
Yes. All right, so fall detection, which means that you would then need some kind of a notification mechanism. So if you've detected a fall, what action then needs to be taken? And that would be to send a message somewhere, like to a family member or a member of nursing staff or something like that. So we need to be able to detect the event, and then we need to, cable tie is here, haha, awesome, welcome cable tie. And then we need to be able to do something about the event, notify someone or turn something on or whatever it happens to be. Right. Johnny says, BitLooney uses text-to-speech for all messages in the chat. I can't understand how he can stand it. No, it would just be total noise. Oh, Amanda is editing this this document live in front of us. What is that? Henrik just sent me a link to something else. Yes. Let's risk it all. I don't know what this is a link to. Okay, so this is the one of the radar things. Yes, cool. There are a bunch of these, and I need to go back. So the guy with the Swiss accent does really good comparison videos of things. I'll see if I can find some of Andreas Spears millimeter radar. Yeah, a little while ago Andreas did, where is it? July 2023. Okay, this is not that long ago. All right, I'm going to open this and then I'm going to pause it because it's going to autoplay. Yeah, here we go. I don't think I've... oh, it's a rerun. Okay, that's why I'm confused. I thought that he did this ages ago, and he did. So there was, way back in 2016, he did a video.
Said mod-only mode has been enabled.
Cool.
Only mods can say or tell messages people have stated.
Thanks, Mitchell. That's handy. All right, so now only mods can say stuff just at this point in time, just to stop it being totally out of control. Now, summer has arrived again. All right, so this was 2 months ago. Andreas reposted a video from back in 2016. And where is it? Does he have a link to his original video? I don't know. But there are some links in here to different radar modules. There are a whole bunch of these. Looks like these are affiliate links. Cool. So, I wonder what's changed since then. So December 2016, it was so quite some years ago, he did his original radar thing. And propose watching video number 439. What's that one? No. 439. Andreas Spears 439. Let's see if we can find. Here we go.
Amanda Thompson said just updated
This one.
the doc.
Cool. Thanks, Amanda. Yeah. So detecting humans is challenging. So this video is
System
also
notification.
potentially
5 minutes remaining.
a very useful reference as well. So this is Andreas's video from 11 months ago talking about different millimeter wave radar systems, and links to a whole bunch of them in here. Right. So if you want to know about different types of modules, Andreas's comparisons are good. He does good comparisons on lots of different things. Like he'll get a few different modules and run them all and just see how they compare. So his videos are good for that sort of thing and for understanding backgrounds of how things work. So yeah, this is the link that Henrik provided for one of those. All right. So Amanda has just added to the document, fall detection will report to MQTT, and that device will be on a UPS and able to process the messages to be sent. Yeah, cool. Now, the thing is that if we've got a Raspberry Pi or something of similar power, basically, if you have a processor in your edge device which is powerful enough to do machine learning, like running a TensorFlow Lite model, it can do an awful lot. You could be running the MQTT broker on that device. You could be sending messages from the device. Yes. Amanda asked if I can put the link in the doc. Okay, let's, which one? I'm going to put this link in the doc. So this is a radar module. I should order some of these. I really need some. Component sources. Is that the one that's already in there? There are a few modules in there already. Okay, so this one is this is the Highlink 24 gigahertz radar sensor. Right. Now, the thing is that a lot of this, the hardest part of this project, being the machine learning system, is it's above my pay grade, basically. It's not something that I know much about. And also you can see there are different form factors. So this is the ad that Henrik sent. You can see this one is this module for $3.09. There is this module for $4.32. This one with BLE, it says, $9.40 for that one. Oh, that's a kit. Is that because it includes the cable? I don't know. This one's $4.32. Supports OTA upgrade. So this one ad has a whole bunch of different things in it. It's not just one product or one module. Oh, look at this. So this one, you can see that there is the board with the USB on it, and it's got a whole lot of breakouts. And then sitting on top of it, it's a little bit hard to see from this photo because it's square on, but that's actually two PCBs. This little one sitting on top, that is the actual millimeter wave radar system, and it's sitting on a carrier board which is providing the power supply and USB and whatever else. So this thing here, or this thing, this module is the sensor on its own, and that's listed as $4.32. This, for $9.40, is that sensor module sitting on top of a carrier board with the USB interface. What are these other kits? That's got a different type of, a different sensor module with a USB to serial converter bundled with it. This is same sort of thing, but it's the longer style of the sensor with the USB to serial converter. So to know what to actually get, it's this is where things like Andreas's comparisons are good. So I've got no idea. Is it better to use this sort of sensor or this sort of sensor? I don't know. Maybe one's more sensitive, maybe it's different beam pattern. I don't know. But places like, okay, that is HLK 2410. The BLE version is HLK 2410B. Oh, B for Bluetooth. Oh,
System notification, stream is over.
almost. We'll wrap this up. But this is... So, anyway, getting back to this. This whole thing came out of Amanda's idea to work on this project that has all of these features. So, if this is something that is interesting to people and you would like to collaborate on this, then I think that'd be cool. I would really like to see this happen. And I don't know what form that would take. I'm not sure if I will do part of it or not, or if it's just something that a few people want to chat about on Discord and collaborate on Discord. That would be a good place to start. So I am going to, where is it? Superhouse.tv, Discord. I will drop a link to this in the chat as well. So this is the, this page should get you to an invitation to the Superhouse Discord. Here's a screenshot of the Discord from way back when it was first started, and it was very small. What was there? Online, 73 people. Yeah, there were not very many people on it at the time, and it had very few channels. It's kind of huge now. So that is that could be one way to get started with all of this. Now, playing around with these millimeter wave sensors, this is definitely something that's been on my I would like to do that one day list. So I think what I'm going to do is order a couple of sensors just to have some to play with, and maybe we can revisit the whole TensorFlow thing and see if we can do some training. Hang on. Oh, my voice has been really weird today. It's been cracking up all over the place. Yeah, maybe we can do some machine learning, do some training on video and get it to distinguish between people and pets and all of that sort of thing, which will be partly context dependent. So one of the challenges is going to be making this generalized so that... Oh, Sion! Thanks for coming along. Oh, David said cat door project also. Yes. Amanda said do a poll on chat now. A poll about what? Yeah, okay. I don't know what the questions would be. Yes. So there are a few things to look at. The cat door project is something that I want to look at as well, which is really a reverse engineering project initially to have a look at the cat door, how it works, how its RFID sensor works, and then do a replacement board to control it, to add MQTT and all of those sorts of extra smarts that we would want in a cat door. Paul says, have a look at Edge Impulse for training AI. Okay. Notes. I have no idea what Edge Impulse is. Oh, Bluetooth proxy. Okay, that I need to do it after that. Let's go. Let's check out. Check Edge Impulse for training AI. Okay. I've just got in there so that someone can think of looking up Edge Impulse. Right. Now. Yeah, oh, okay. Amanda, so the point of the poll was who is interested in this project. Yeah, I don't know the poll, that there is a poll, like a poll is, I suppose the questions could be, are you interested, yes or no? But I think there are always going to be people that aren't interested, and there will be people that are. It's just a matter of getting the critical mass of people that are interested so that this can start making progress. So what I suggest is, if you are interested in this project, please speak up. And
System notification. Peter is hangry 5 minutes ago.
Yes, Peter is hangry. I'm hangry too. I'm getting hangry. And if you do want to get involved in this, either speak up in the chat now. You've got like another minute or two to do that. Oh, John says yes. Or jump on Discord and make yourself known there. And yeah, maybe we can start putting something together. And maybe other people will want to start putting together hardware as well. It's a sort of thing that people can start doing this themselves with whatever sensors and modules and things that you happen to have available. You could start mocking this up. And if you have a Raspberry Pi with a Pi camera, then you have all the hardware that you need to start messing around with machine learning. There is a bit of a learning curve to get up with TensorFlow and doing all of that setup. But the link that I put in this document, and I think I dropped it in the, yeah, so this TensorFlow self-driving car. I can't remember if I put this in the chat or not, but for anyone that is interested in the perception module and looking into TensorFlow and machine learning training, and the way we did it with that self-driving car project, that link that I just put into the Open Hardware Conf page will give you a starting point. So Trady says, I need a presence sensor for my shed automation project. Yep, okay,
Peter
well
Lawler
this could be a good
said, I knew
thing.
you'd still be going.
Yes. And Pancake asked, is there a channel on the Discord where people will discuss? There isn't yet, but maybe there should be. How about I jump in?
Peter
What
Lawler
have we
said,
got?
I knew you'd still be going.
Yes. Controllers and software, firmware and devices, tools, techniques, projects. Okay, so there is a share projects channel up in... All right, so in Discord, in the Superhouse Discord under projects, so there is the main project section. We've got all of these channels in Discord. But if you come down to, where are we?
Amanda Thompson said, it looks like I see a few yes.
Yeah.
Can you add it to the Discord?
Yeah. So we've got a project section here, and there is a share project section and a collaborations thing. So what we could do is make a dedicated channel. We've already got the collaborations thing. That's for people saying, I want to work with other people to do something. But so normally what would happen is that people would chat in collaborations, and let's just go straight to, what are we going to call this? How about we just call it present sensor for now? That can always be changed if necessary. So we've got the presence sensor channel, and jump in there. And maybe a good thing to do would be to have some kind of a shared document that other people can see as well. Maybe like a read-only link. At the moment, I think the link to that document, Amanda, is set up so that anyone with the link can edit it, because I didn't have to sign in or anything. I could edit that. And there are already people talking in the brand new topic in Discord. So this document, yeah, I've just been editing it. And
Mitchell R said GitHub, README files.
yeah, eventually. But we're not at that stage yet. First stage is just talking about the general functionality and what it should do and how to begin the project before any specifics start being put into place. So maybe a read-only version of this document could be linked from that Discord. So Amanda, you may need to change the sharing privileges on that. And then you can go from there. Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. I saw that. We'll change it and add it now. Perfect. And so I'm going to go because I am hangry just like Peter. And I can't believe that with the state of mind that I'm in at the moment, I have made it through 2 hours and 9 minutes of live stream.
Mitchell R said, yay. Why not use GitHub lol? It's read-only and can do changes lol-grim.
Yes, but that is when you have something to share. At the moment, we're just at the point of discussion and a document, like to start doing a brain dump of ideas. Once there are actual designs and things, documentation, yes, GitHub is definitely the way to go. But we're not quite there yet. Scott, that is a very good observation. Scott just said, once again, John notices that streaming improves his day. It does. It does. I was in a bad brain place at the start of this stream, and now I'm feeling, yeah, a whole lot better. So, thank you very much for helping me feel a whole lot better. I hope you're all in a good brain place, unlike me being in a bad brain place early in the day, and that you're having a great weekend. I am going to go and look at some sunshine for a brief moment. I'm not really a hot weather person, but being in the nice outdoors does definitely improve my mental outlook. So I'm going to go and do that briefly. Yeah, Chip predicted it at the start.
Mitchell R. said, do not look up into the sun.
No, I will not look directly into the sun. I'm just going to go and admire the day and feed my stomach. And yeah, so Dodgy says, talking to people helps. That's why therapists charge so much. I'll send you a bill. No worries. I owe you, Dodgy. Your access has expired, I just saw. So Amanda has fixed the access privileges to that document. Nice. Okay. So, thank you everybody for coming along. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And I will talk to you all really soon and continue building awesome stuff. Thanks. Bye.